Hey guys, welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be talking about the tragic death of Superman. This is a story that I came across and I found it very fascinating. Now, this isn't a subject that is for everyone, and if this is not for you, I understand. I will catch you in the next one, but for those of you who are interested, stick around because I'm about to get into it. In 1938, the beloved superhero Superman was created, and since he's been portrayed by many. Superman became a household name faster than a speeding bullet, each actor bringing his own personal touch to the DC character. But today we're going to go back to the beginning, and we're going to talk about the original Superman. George Reeves was born January 6, 1914. He began acting in 1939 in a little film called Gone with the Wind. In 1951, Reeves became Superman, and the role would make him a national celebrity. When he was first offered the role, Reeves hesitated because he was worried that it was going to prevent him from taking other roles. Still, he accepted and he was catapulted into fame. TV shows don't offer much notice when they're ready to film the next series, so there's not a lot of time to go ahead and check out other roles and do other things. Once you've accepted the job, you have to be ready to go when they say they're ready to film. So in that scenario, Reeves' greatest fear was realized. And even though the show was so huge, he felt trapped. At one point in 1954, he tried to start his own production company, but he failed to get it off the ground. It was reported by one of his best friends, Ben Wielden, that Reeves felt trapped by the role, and he'd even said to him that he felt like he was wasting his life. Reeves had a long-term mistress, Toni Maddox. They split in June 1959 because Reeves had found a new romantic interest, a socialite, Lenore Lemon. On the night of Reeves' death, he was out socializing with his then-girlfriend Lenore and another friend, his name was Robert, and it was reported that the couple had argued in the restaurant before leaving to Reeves' home in Benedict Canyon, California. But according to Lenore, they were at a wrestling match that night and not at a restaurant. Once they were home, Reeves decided to go upstairs and go to bed while Lenore and Robert continued drinking. Later on that evening, some neighbors had arrived, Bill Bliss and Carol. Not long after, the party was in full swing, and things were getting pretty erratic, so Reeves came downstairs to complain about the noise, but he stayed for a drink before returning to bed. Not long after that, the partygoers heard a gunshot. The police were called, and when they arrived on the scene, everyone was pretty drunk. The reports on what happened were confusing. One story that remained pretty consistent with everyone is that after the gunshot rang out, Bill Bliss ran upstairs to see what had happened. And when he entered the room, he found Reeves lying on the bed. He was positioned in a way that appeared that he had shot himself while sitting on the edge of the bed. Reeves for a long time had been depressed over being stuck in the role of playing Superman, and he had voiced his frustration to friends being unable to accept different roles. It was also reported that his fiancée Lemon may have been in the room with him or just outside the door when the fatal shot was fired. There were several puzzling pieces of evidence that cast doubt on the version of events. By the time any autopsy was done, Reeves' body had been washed, so there was no way of detecting any gunpowder on his hands. Also, the gun that had been found did not have Reeves' prints on it. It had been wiped clean. Though the bullet that had killed Reeves had passed through his body and was found in the ceiling, the casing was found underneath his body as if it had been positioned there. And two other bullets from the gun were found in the floor, but the partygoers had claimed they'd only heard one gunshot. And even though it was suspected that Lenore may have been outside of the room or in the room with him at the time, there wasn't any evidence to confirm that anyone had been in there and present at the time of Reeves' death. There also wasn't any evidence of a break-in. So it was believed that this was something that Reeves had done on his own, and it was ruled a suicide. Later, Reeves' mother had the case reopened as a homicide because she refused to believe that her son would be capable of doing something like this. But they weren't able to find enough supporting evidence, so the original conclusion remained. It was later rumored that Lenore had killed him in an argument, but that was never proven. It was also rumored that his previous girlfriend, Toni Maddox, had had someone hired to kill him or had shot him herself. Another theory was that Toni's husband, Eddie Maddox, had hired someone to kill Reeves, and that he had had connections with the underground. But here's the strange thing on that story. They were all friends. Eddie was fully aware of the affair that Toni was having with Reeves. They had all gone out to dinner together, and sometimes Eddie had brought his own mistress. They'd gone on vacations together. So that theory seemed a little bit difficult to get around because it seemed like they were all very accepting of one another and that there was no bad blood. Toni's husband wasn't jealous or upset. He really liked Reeves. They all hung out together. They were all friends. So it was hard to believe that they would have anything to do with Reeves' death. Lemon attempted without success to claim a share of Reeves' estate. She returned to New York, where she lived out the remainder of her life, her last years spent in alcoholic dementia. Her body was found in her New York apartment on January 4th, 1990, and the time of death was calculated most likely 5 days earlier. Several years later, it was said that Toni Mannix confessed to a priest that she had arranged for Reeves to be killed. Toni, suffering from Alzheimer's, died in 1983. It was reported that she confessed in a state of mental clarity. It was her jealousy and her sadness and her inability to let Reeves go that in the end cost him his life. The whole situation is a complete tragedy. Superman I remember watching as a kid. Now this was before my time, but I remember it still being on when I was a little girl, and I watched it here and there, just like Batman from back in the day. And The Adventures of Superman, it looked like it was a great show, and it looked like from the outside that he was happy playing the role of Superman. At least that's what it seemed like to me. I didn't know any better. I was just a kid. And I think for a lot of actors these days, they might look and think, I would be so excited to have that, and I've been trying so hard to get into it. To have that role would be an incredible blessing. But I guess when you're in it and you're an entertainer and it is your craft, you want to branch out and do other things. And I think that I could see both sides of the coin, where it would be very stifling to play a single character year after year after year when there's so many other things that you want to do. And even though I only work in craft service, I know that there is very little notice when it comes to working with, in film and television. You don't have a lot of opportunity to do many other things. And once you are on a show and you accept a job, you are on that show to the very end. There's unless you get fired, there's really no escaping it. So I can understand why he would be depressed and wanting to try other things and get out there and spread his wings as an actor. I don't think, truly, that it was enough for him to want to end his own life. I think that there are so many other factors involved that, from what I found in my research, I wouldn't be surprised if Toni Mannix had been the one behind Reeves' death, if she'd hired someone to go ahead and have him killed because she was jealous that he loved someone else and it wasn't her. Or maybe her husband, feeling sad that she was depressed over it, came forward and decided to have someone hired to have him taken out because he wanted to, avenge his wife. But they were all friends. It seems, I don't know, to me, I would think unlikely that the husband would have played a role in it. I do think that Toni Mannix might have done that out of jealousy because, as they say, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. But regardless, it's just a sad end to an incredible superhero. And I just found this story so fascinating that I wanted to sit down and share it with you guys. So that's going to do it for me today, guys. Let me know what you think of today's story in the comments. I really appreciate you sticking around and watching. It does mean a lot to me, and I will catch you all in the next one.